Nuclear terrorism refers to any person or persons who detonate a nuclear weapon as an act of terrorism. Some definitions of nuclear terrorism include the sabotage of a nuclear facility and the detonation of a radiological device, colloquially termed a dirty bomb. But consensus is lacking. In legal terms, nuclear terrorism is an offense committed if a person unlawfully and intentionally uses in any way radioactive material with the intent to cause death or serious bodily injury, or with the intent to cause substantial damage to property or to the environment, or with the intent to compel a natural or legal person, an international organization or a state to do or refrain from doing an act. According to the 2005 United Nations International Convention for the Suppression of Acts of Nuclear Terrorism, the possibility of terrorist organizations using nuclear weapons is something which is known of within U.S. culture, and at times previously discussed within the political settings of the U.S. It is considered plausible that terrorists could acquire a nuclear weapon. However, despite thefts and trafficking of small amounts of fissile material, all low concern and less than Category 3 special nuclear material, there is no credible evidence that any terrorist group has succeeded in obtaining Category ISNM, the necessary multi-kilogram critical mass amounts of weapons-grade plutonium required to make a nuclear weapon. Nuclear terrorism could include nuclear terrorism. According to a 2011 report published by the Belfer Center for Science and International Affairs at Harvard University, can be executed and distinguished via 4 pathways. Former U.S. President Barack Obama called nuclear terrorism the single most important national security threat that we face. In his first speech to the UN Security Council, President Obama said that just one nuclear weapon exploded in a city, be it New York or Moscow, Tokyo or Beijing, London or Paris, could kill hundreds of thousands of people. It would destabilize our security, our economies, and our very way of life. As early as December 1945, politicians worried about the possibility of smuggling nuclear weapons into the United States. Though this was still in the context of a battle between the superpowers of the Cold War. Congressmen quizzed the father of the atomic bomb, J. Robert Oppenheimer, about the possibility of detecting a smuggled atomic bomb, saying, "Millikan, we have mine-detecting devices, which are rather effective. I was wondering if anything of that kind might be available to use as a defense against that particular type of use of atomic bombs. Dr. Oppenheimer, if you hired me to walk through the cellars of Washington to see whether there were atomic bombs, I think my most important tool would be a screwdriver to open the crates and look. I think that just walking by, swinging a little gadget would not give me the information." This sparked further work on the question of smuggled atomic devices during the 1950s. Discussions of non-state nuclear terrorism among experts go back at least to the 1970s. In 1975, The Economist warned that you can make a bomb with a few pounds of plutonium. By the mid-1980s, the power stations may easily be turning out 200,000 pounds of the stuff each year. And each year, unless present methods are drastically changed, many thousands of pounds of it will be transferred from one plant to another as it proceeds through the fuel cycle. The dangers of robbery in transit are evident. Vigorous cooperation between governments and the International Atomic Energy Agency could, even at this late stage, make the looming perils loom a good deal smaller. And the New York Times commented in 1981 that the nuclear emergency search team's origins go back to the aftershocks of the Munich Olympic massacre in mid-1972. Until that time, no one in the United States government had thought seriously about the menace of organized international terrorism, much less nuclear terrorism. There was a perception in Washington that the value of what is called special nuclear material, plutonium or highly enriched uranium, was so enormous that the strict financial accountability of the private contractors who dealt with it would be enough to protect it from falling into the wrong hands. But it has since been revealed that the physical safeguarding of bomb-grade material against theft was almost scandalously neglected. This discussion took on a larger public character in the 1980s. After NBC aired Special Bulletin, a television dramatization of a nuclear terrorist attack on the United States. In 1986, a private panel of experts known as the International Task Force on the Prevention of Terrorism released a report urging all nuclear-armed states to beware the dangers of terrorism and work on equipping their nuclear arsenals with permissive action links. The probability of nuclear terrorism, the experts warned, is increasing and the